do. Get myself organised. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It's been a long time, I think 6 months since our last video, but I wanted to speak to you today because something very interesting happened to me recently. That being that I got a novel manuscript rejected. Okay, that's pretty normal, but the story is that I knew the publisher. He'd actually published this book of mine, Last Summer of Hair, by me, woohoo! You know, link down in comments and all that jumbo jumbo, I think is the word I was supposed to say. Anyway, this was the point. You know, I was upset, etc., etc., etc. But it prompted a question, a really, really interesting question, and that was this. What if, despite practicing my writing since really the age of 10, what if now, 50 years later, at 60, I actually suck at it? Like, what if I'm just not talented, not interesting? You know, it's a possibility. Now, before you kind of rush to pat me on the back and go, oh no, Paulie, look, you know, oh, blah, 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 blah. I'm not after a sympathy vote, let me tell you. I just think it's a really interesting question that many of us should ask ourselves. There's this thing in cognitive science that's called the Dunning-Kruger Effect. It kind of was cobbled together in the 90s by a couple of guys. Dunning and Kruger, strangely, were their names. And the basic idea is that so often we overestimate our capacity, our competence. You know, we have what is sometimes called an illusory superiority bias. And I think, you know, particularly as a creative, you know, we all love to, as artists, think we're talented and special and have something to say to the world and blah, 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 blah. But of course, really, most writers aren't particularly exceptional. Just like there might be 50 million kids playing football, but there's only one Lionel Messi. You know what I mean? Statistically, exceptions are the exceptions, and the rest of us are kind of not exceptional. We might be sort of ordinary. And I've really been kind of called upon to question that since this last kind of, you know, what did he say? He said, I'm going to have to decline, which I thought was a beautiful way of putting it, rather than like, fuck off, Paulie, stop pestering me with the bloody manuscripts, which would have been an appropriate response too, I dare say, from his point of view. But yeah, where was I again? You see here, not being exceptional, being ordinary, just like most of you out there. And although that's okay, and you know, it's not going to stop me writing and making these silly videos that no one watches, because I love doing it, and that's all cool. And I think we all understand that process over outcome thing, right? Well, we take that as read. But I think it cuts to, perhaps it's humility. Perhaps humility is the word. You know, it's not kind of beating myself over the back going, oh, you're so hopeless. Oh my God, you're an idiot. No, none of that. I mean, maybe a little bit of that sometimes when I'm in a foul mood, but mostly not. But I do think that we shouldn't be trapped in a kind of exceptionalist fantasy and thinking that, oh, we're the poor, noble, struggling artists being cruelly overlooked by a world that's obsessed with shiny floor television and Taylor Swift and so on and so forth, right? Let's not engage in that fantasy. Not every unknown painter is a Vincent in waiting. Yeah, there's not all the poets out there are going to be discovered after their death and become famous. Like, that's not going to happen to the vast majority of us, to the overwhelming majority of those of us who write books, make dance, sing songs, paint pictures, whatever artistic or extraordinary pursuit or passion pursuit it is that we have. And I do think that, you know, this Dunning-Kruger effect is kind of something that's very interesting, because it makes you maybe reflect upon, I don't know, maybe your delusions, your arrogance, how misguided we can all be about how important and special we are. You know, like, I really thought, you know, hey, maybe I'm a great writer, but maybe I'm not. Maybe, you know, after all, this is the old man dancing badly channel. Like, I kind of think I'm a pretty good dancer, but maybe I'm not, right? You know, at some point I probably thought I was a good lover, but maybe that wasn't true either, you know. Maybe there's a lot of things I thought I was good at that actually I wasn't, you know. Yeah, maybe, yeah, that can be a little bit of a dent to the ego, but okay, take the ego out of it and just go, okay, look, it's disappointing maybe, okay, you're ordinary, but okay, so are most people. And they get on with their lives and they're not even up here on YouTube making tiresome videos about it, are they? Or writing blog pieces. Yes, there's a blog piece related to this video. I'll also put the thing down in the thing, blah, blah, blah. All the stuff that the algorithm tells me I'm meant to do. What on earth am I saying? I'm just going to have a little drink and think about what I'm going to say next. See, this shows you how ordinary I am. See, I haven't even got a plan. Isn't this atrocious? I'm just rambling to you under some misguided belief that you'll find it interesting, which rationally I know you won't. And so here we are, Dunning-Kruger, in effect, Mr. Paulie thinking he's so interesting and engaging. Just sit down and talk to the camera. People will find that really interesting. Well, maybe they won't. And I suspect this is a really good grounding moment, you know, for me and maybe for some of you out there who are struggling to, you know, have your art, recognize whatever your art is, or maybe you're a philosopher and no one's really interested in your ideas, or, you know, whatever it is, someone trying to make a game, or whatever you're trying to do that you feel is being kind of overlooked. I think it's really good for us to stay grounded in a kind of reality that at least asks the question, what if I suck at this? What next?